Welcome to Profiles in Leadership interview series. This is where we share pearls of wisdom for those who lead. I have a very distinguished guest with us today, Bridgit Finley.
Thank you.
And Dr. Finley is a physical therapist and the founding partner and CEO of Physical Therapy Central and is a partner in Confluent Health. Physical Therapy Central is a rapidly growing private practice that was selected as Practice of the Year in 2010 by Advance Magazine. Dr. Finley is nationally recognized in the area of clinical education and was awarded the Signe Brunstrom Award of Excellence in Clinical Teaching by the American Physical Therapy Association. She is a frequent lecturer at physical therapy programs and state meetings. She currently serves as the president of the Oklahoma Physical Therapy Association. So thank you, Bridgit, for being here.
You bet. I'm glad to be here.
Looking forward to this. So tell us your story. Where did you attend PT school and how did you get from there to be the CEO of this amazing company?
Well, I went to school in Oklahoma, grew up, born and raised there. And it's funny, I went to Baylor to do my undergraduate work and I got a degree in teaching, which I love teaching and working with others to help develop them. But they put me in a gym with 60 kids and I quickly decided I'd made a big mistake.
Okay.
So I called my dad and said, I want to go to PT school. And he said, move home and you can stay in one of my rental properties and you can go to school. So that's how I got back to Oklahoma. I worked a couple of years and got in school. And then once I got out, I wanted to work for a hospital-based program. I wanted a little bit of wound care, a little bit inpatient, outpatient. Right. And after about 3 years, I joined another private practice, and that's where I fell in love with private practice.
Yeah.
And once I worked with them about 6 years, and then I really felt like it was time for me to either become a partner or go out and do my own thing.
Right.
And as fate would have it, I was going to go out and do my own thing.
Yeah.
And so PT Central started in 2004. And I started with, the first patient. It was a true bootstrap company, you know, one patient, one clinic, and then it grew from there.
That's amazing. And now how many clinics do you have in your organization?
Organically, we grew 21.
Okay.
And then we just bought 15 clinics. So we have 36 altogether.
Wow. Yeah. Impressive.
Yeah.
In 2004, that's pretty fast growth.
It is. And I think the growth is really because I partnered with people. Yeah. And I found really good physical therapists that had a business mind, and they quickly partnered with me and we opened more clinics.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. For those of us in the PT world, we know and see Confluent Health quite a bit, but a lot of us maybe don't really understand what the organization is. And so how does PT Central fit into Confluent Health and make that all work? So how does that work?
So Larry Benz is the CEO of Confluent. And I had known him through EPPM, as well as I did the fellowship. So I really knew these people and felt comfortable with them. And Confluent Health is really an umbrella. And underneath it, it owns multiple physical therapy practices, evidence in motion, fit for work. So, once we looked at partnering with Larry, it really to me was a no-brainer. I liked all these people running the companies. Larry's a physical therapist, and he really could bring to the table what I couldn't, which was really putting all these companies together, growing us. And my goal with that is I wanted a stable company. If I was hit by a bus, PT Central would, live beyond.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have an automatic succession plan in a sense.
I do.
And do that. So
PT Central had grown so quick that I had really outgrown the ability to sell to my local partners.
Yeah.
It was just too much and too big.
Right. So your average physical therapist can't afford to take over PT Central.
No, they really couldn't.
Yeah. So if you don't have some type of succession plan like Confluent Health, then what you end up doing is maybe selling to someone you would not choose to sell to because they're the only ones that have the money.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And with selling to them, I feel like they've brought as much to the table as we did. Leadership development, back-end systems, all the payroll and all of that I didn't want to mess with. So it's been a nice partnership.
Yeah. And you're looked at as a strong and influential leader in the physical therapy profession. So I've heard you've talked a couple of times over the last few years on women in leadership positions. And with 70% of the PTs in the nation being female, why are there not more women leaders in PT organizations? And we've been talking about this for a while, so let's talk about it again.
Yeah, we have been. I think there's multi factors that go into this. Some is, when I hire out of PT school, I find I hire equally, 50-50. But then most of them get married and have kids, and by the time we're looking at partner and management position, many of the female owners have 1 or 2 kids, and I feel like they're really torn between my career and raising my family and can I have it all?
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the factors. And I think another factor is, the organization itself. Are we willing to invest and develop these people and allow them to have 12 weeks off?
Right.
And in a 20-year career, 12 weeks is a blip in time.
Yeah.
I think we get too focused on that couple of years where they have kids. I want to make it work with them. Part-time schedules, flexibility, so that they stay with us and they have opportunity to grow.
Well, you've been a part of the Graham sessions, and in the Graham sessions, we're not supposed to say who said what.
Right.
But I'm going to break the rule here a little bit. So you talked a little bit about a woman that you were really, really impressed with, that felt that she would be a great director, but she could only give you 30 hours a week.
Exactly.
And you said, I don't think that's going to work. But you tried it, and
it worked.
And it worked.
Yeah,
so.
and the discussion on my part was I was biased. I believed you had to work 60 hours a week to make a successful practice. And most women are used to doing a lot of things, running the family, taking care of the kids, working full time. So given a chance and being willing to do it a little bit differently, patient care 30 hours and then time to grow the business and raise their kids, by that model, we have half our owners in PT Central are women, half our partners are women, and I think they have a role model. Now they see someone that's done it and they had kids.
Yeah.
So I think that's inspiring.
And the lesson learned here is if you have someone that's really talented and a great leader, perhaps they can do a better job at 30 hours than, say, maybe a mediocre leader can do in 60 or 80 hours a week.
Exactly. Just because you're willing to work 60 hours does not mean you're going to be successful.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's that skill of leadership.
That's right.
So you and I were classmates in the first cohort of the Executive Private Practice Management year-long program.
Right.
And fond memories of that, and that was through Evidence in Motion in a partnership with PPS.
Right.
And what did you gain from that experience, and what advice would you give to PTs who want to improve their management acumen?
Yeah, so that was very pivotal. We only had 5 clinics at that time. I'm a PT, I had no idea how to run a business. So I was really struggling with how to do that and how to do it well. So by attending that class, they went through everything. What's your vision? What's your mission? What are your goals? What's your strategy? So it really helped me tie everything together. It's a year-long program, and then I spent a year with my company implementing every piece of it, from the budget to the marketing to the vision. And we just did the exact same strategy that you and I did at our first class with my whole company last month. So, I really took to heart what I was learning and integrated it.
I think, the experience of a lot of the people in that program, and I think what you're saying is that we get so caught up in the saying of working, in the business as opposed to on the business. And so what you did, it sounds to me like, is you worked on the business after that program or during that program.
Yeah, I really did. And speaking of learning how to do that, the reason I got into physical therapy is I love patients and I love developing students. And for me to pull out of that and back out of patient care was very hard. But when I heard all these very successful people saying that's a good move, it gave me confidence to follow through with that and move forward.
Yeah, it's I did the same thing. It's a tough, it's something you train so hard for, you dream about treating patients, and all of a sudden you're going to give it up. It's like, whoa, I put a lot of time and energy into this, but sometimes you have to sacrifice to get to that next level. So,
and I was really ready to feel good about growing the practice, and I didn't feel like I was giving it all my all. So I actually worked with a business coach to work through that, my transition, because I just wasn't quite comfortable, and it took me about 2 years.
Yeah. It's in my next career life here, I'm doing executive coaching, and so it is amazing how, no matter how good you are or how prepared you think you are, sometimes that coaching really does make a difference.
My coach just kept asking me questions.
Yeah.
What do you want this next year to be like? What do you envision with a company? And once he helped me get clear on that, then I knew what I needed to do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So how do you do it all? I mean, you're the CEO of a large PT organization. You're the president of the Oklahoma chapter of APTA. You teach. You're a leader in Confluent Health. And I assume you have a personal life.
A little bit.
So how can one person do it all? How do you keep in play? How do you keep it all in play?
Well, my success has really been, again, with partnering with really talented, bright, driven physical therapists. And you know, the very first clinic, when I started it, 1 month later I called 2 PTs and said, do you guys want to partner with me?
Yeah.
I had like 10 patients, you know, I'd been open a month. And both of them said yes.
Yeah.
But I treated one when she was 16 and rehabbed her knee. They'd both gone to school. So, you know, these are these long-term relationships.
Right.
And I knew they'd be great partners.
Yeah, you surround yourself with the right people that have the vision.
And get out of their way.
Yeah.
You know, give them some autonomy around some accountability, and let them help you grow the business.
Such an important lesson, because it seems like when you're building something like that, the tendency is you want to control everything.
Yep.
But as soon as you do that, then you limit your abilities.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And my partners really, again, have been great. When I've given them, you know, I went through a little bit of a personal struggle last year, and I went to my partners and said, hey guys, I need you all to step up. And they were great.
Yeah, isn't that great to have a team like that? It's so amazing. So who would you consider to be your mentor, or someone who saw your potential and encouraged you to strive for excellence?
So one of my mentors early on was obviously another PT.
Yeah.
And he really took me under his wing and really worked with me on being a really good physical therapist. And to grow a practice, I think you have to have good clinical skills.
Yes.
You have to have that as your base and then grow from there.
Right.
So he did we didn't work together. He was at another company, and I would call him and say, can I come over? Can I watch you? Can I do this? And later on, he opened one of my clinics with me. And he's, a little bit older than I am. And I remember one time we were in a meeting, and he said to me, Bridgit, you need to lead these people. I was a reluctant CEO,
right.
if you will.
I've often said that myself, reluctant leader.
Yes.
Because it's not something you were driven to do.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But because of who you are and because of your natural or worked on abilities, people are bringing you up to that level.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I was there, and he cued me. He's like, you need to lead these people. They're looking for somebody to lead them. So, people like that in my life have just been instrumental. It's like the right time, they say the right thing, and it just clicks for you.
That's great. That's what we all need that.
Yeah.
So what changes do you feel the PT profession needs to do in this game of healthcare reform so that, we can bring down the cost of healthcare?
Yeah.
Do you feel physical therapy has a significant role in that? And if so, what do we need to do different?
Yeah. I think physical therapy is at the right time, at the right place, and we have a tremendous role to play in that. Decreasing opioid use, decreasing surgeries. If we can get to where we're not at the end of the chain of when we come in to provide our services, if we can get at the front end of that, I think we can make a huge impact on cost as well as outcomes for patient. I think we're perfectly placed right now to be able to do that.
And in your organization, do you feel like the public is starting to get it, or is it just, we all get so frustrated with, maybe we're drinking our own Kool-Aid, but we totally get it.
We do.
So why does everybody else get it? So,
I read a study the other day that out of all the people that have an orthopedic musculoskeletal problem, 92% of them never come to physical therapy.
Yeah.
So we're treating 8% of the people that need us. So again, I think if we can get the word out and tell people about physical therapy, what we do, how we treat, how we work, then I think we're going to explode.
Do you think that we haven't done a good job of getting that message out, or do you think we're kind of held under this curtain of, healthcare systems and physicians and so on, and so that we just aren't led? How do we?
It's probably dual. Now in Oklahoma, it's been our second year we have direct access.
Okay.
So we are really getting the word out because they can come see us directly. Where the gatekeeper for us used to be the physician, so I think we did tamp down what we could do.
Yeah.
So now I think we have access to patients. We just need to let patients know about us. And then we need to feel like we have a seat at the table and not, sit at the back of the room.
Right.
Yeah, we should be treating musculoskeletal problems.
Yeah. Well, I think that's another thing that leadership can help us do. Those that are leaders can hopefully get that word out more. So there's very few companies in our profession that do leadership development training. Now I know Confluent Health does.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about that, and how do you guys do it, and what emphasis do you put on that?
Yeah, so the leadership development comes in a couple of stages. They have an emerging leader program to help us identify people that may come up into leadership.
Right.
And then they have a PTville 1 and 2 built after GE, what they put together.
Yeah.
So it's helping the managers identify emerging leaders.
Okay.
And then the PTville programs are based off of what you really need, because we're taught how to be physical therapists. We have no idea how to manage people.
Right.
So crucial conversations, going direct in a workforce, how to give feedback, how to decrease gossip, and really have integrity with the people you work with. So a lot of our leadership is around this consciousness of clear conversations, no complaining, and it's not like an edict, but instead of complaining, do you have a request for me?
Right.
So it's teaching people how to have a conversation where it doesn't keep looping into something that's not positive, but they make a request, and then we can have a discussion about it.
And don't you think it's a bit of a mindset as well? I know that in some new professionals, you talk about leadership, and I often hear the comment, well, I don't really want to be a leader, I just want to treat patients. And I'm like, I can't think of a more perfect example of leadership than treating a patient, because if you can't motivate them, if you can't teach them, if you that's all leadership stuff.
That's right.
So if you're a really good physical therapist with your patient, you would at least have some basic leadership skills, I would think.
Yeah, and most everybody that we hire, they want someone to develop them.
Yeah.
They want someone to invest in them. So we work with them on how to talk to a patient. And most of the time, they don't learn that in PT school.
No.
How do you have empathy? How do you make a connection? How do you affirm that patient? How do you have a peek-in theory when they walk out the door?
Right.
So we really invest in our therapist, and we know if we do that, then they'll take care of our patients.
I remember back in our program, we did strength finders.
Right.
And so you get your top 5 strengths identified through this kind of survey type of thing. And it's very well accepted in the business world.
Right.
And what was shocking was that in the physical therapy field that we're all from, I don't think anyone had empathy on their top 5.
Nope.
So that was weird, wasn't it?
It is interesting.
Yeah.
And because the mindset, if you make straight A's, you get into PT school, that's probably not the highest end.
Right.
So we actually train for empathy. It can be taught.
Yeah.
And we train it in our PT
That's
field.
awesome. Just to admit or identify that that's something that you need to work on. I think that people just assume that I've heard this my whole life. Oh, they're just a natural leader, or PTs just know how to lead. Well, I personally believe, as I think your company does, that you need to develop leadership just like clinical skills.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're not a great physical therapist year one, we all know that.
That's right.
And it takes time and patience to develop that, and in leadership, I think you have to do the same thing.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
People, and it's when you give people ways to be successful, then they're more comfortable leading.
Yes.
I think it's like me, the reluctant CEO. Part of that, I don't want to be a leader, is you're not sure how to do it.
Right.
So once you develop them and give them the skills, then they're like, oh, I like this.
Yeah, and there's so different leaders. I mean, there's the more introverted leaders.
You
There's
bet.
and I think a lot of people associate leadership. Oh, that means I have to stand up and talk in front of 1,000 people,
Right.
which is no one's
Very
comfortable
scary.
with that. Yeah, so that's something else you have to learn
That's
and develop
right.
over time. So
That's right.
what pearl of wisdom can you share with us for when seeking a leadership role in this profession? What would you say to our listeners as far as give us a pearl?
I think my biggest pearl, there's probably two things, is what has helped me the most is I asked for help. When I needed help, when I wasn't sure,
Yeah.
I tried not to let my ego get in the way, and I tried to reach out to people. I called you several times.
Yes.
How do I do this? What do
Yeah.
you think about this? So asking for help when you need it and being open and curious to the feedback. And then the other pearl is, for me, working with my partners and getting their buy-in and involvement sure made growing the company a lot easier than me trying to do it all by myself.
Yeah, I'm gonna reinforce that a little bit because I think you're so right on, which is admit that you don't know all the
Right.
answers. So being the leader, being the CEO, being the clinic director does not mean I have all the answers.
Exactly.
And so the willingness to say, I'm not sure, but let's together
Right.
figure it out. Or let's call somebody else and maybe they know and maybe we can do some research and figure out how to do it. I think that's kind of that misnomer that when people
right.
get in those positions, they think, oh, now everyone expects me to have all the answers.
Exactly.
I don't have all the answers. You don't have all the answers.
Right.
But communicating with others and just
Right.
being vulnerable to the
That's
fact that
it.
you don't
Being
know.
vulnerable. And many times I just talk through a problem and then I would have the answer, but it's being
Yeah.
vulnerable enough to just say, hey, let's talk about this.
See, I think that's why you and I hit it off so well together,
Right.
because I'm the same way. As those around me know, I'm a verbal decision maker.
Yep, me too.
So I talk, I ask questions, I get input, I do this, I do that, and then somewhere in that thing is like, oh,
It's clear.
here's
Yeah.
something we should do, but it's not, oh, this is exactly what we need to do from
Exactly.
day one. So I think the willingness to be able to do that, as you've described, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think that's made growing the company much more fun for me.
Yeah.
And, would really be what I would say that if people can do that, it gets easier.
Yeah. So what's next?
Oh gosh. Well, I love what I'm doing.
So you just keep growing that same
Yeah.
company, or do you move into some other different leadership role, or?
Well, I definitely want to keep growing the company, and it's funny because we just did our strategy last week, and I said to my partners, if we never opened another clinic, it probably wouldn't change my life.
Yeah.
But who it changes the lives of are my new partners.
Yes.
They have an opportunity to come up and grow, and it really makes a difference to them. So I love doing that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's so powerful for a leader to give back to a new professional what you were afforded, which is
Right.
given a chance to learn and grow, and then someday be the CEO of PT
Right.
Central.
Right. So I
So,
love
yeah.
what I'm doing. I really do. I love the physical therapy profession. I love where we are right now in it in terms of the healthcare. And my partners are great. I love the people.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
great. It was so great talking with you.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, I just want to thank you so much for being here today, and I want to thank VGM Advantage for allowing us to film this session in their booth here at the Combined Sections meeting of APTA in San Antonio, Texas. So thank you very much. Thanks, Bridget.
Thanks. Good to see you.